America had emerged onto the world stage. Rebuilt over the past 5 decades by John Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, and J.P. Morgan. They had reigned uncontested for years. But now the government was cracking down on big business in a big way. And at the same time, the next generation of businessmen was on the rise. Henry Ford was battling a powerful cartel for the right to make a car that he believed in. The Association of Licensed Automobile Manufacturers, ALAM, owned the patent on the automobile. And budding car makers like Henry Ford needed its permission to sell cars. After being rejected by ALAM, Ford was left with few options. But he wasn't about to give up without fighting back.
Ford thought that the whole thing was ridiculous, that there could not be a patent on the idea of the automobile, that the automobile was not the property of one single individual.
Ford was determined to get around ALAM's stranglehold on the automobile industry, but he was just one man, taking on a virtual monopoly. If he was going to be a success without ALAM, then he had to make a name for himself.
It's a very simple thing on the make or break decisions, the gut. And that's what separates the great leaders and the great successes. And if you can't listen to it and you don't have it, you're never going to get it, because it's never going to come from someplace else.
Henry Ford challenged the owner of the biggest car company in the country to a race. Alexander Winton was also known as the fastest driver in America and a prominent member of ALAM. Beating Winton with a car of his own design had the potential to give Ford the boost he needed to start his own company. There was just one problem. Henry Ford had never raced a car before.
It's a David and Goliath scene. Winton's famous world record holder has this fancy race car. Ford, the local boy, made good.
Henry Ford's upset win over the fastest man in America instantly made him famous.
Ford's a hero, and this is really the first big time, I think, that he becomes a celebrity. The Ford name gets out there, and he milks it for everything that it's worth. And it was a very crucial part of Ford getting investors for the Ford Motor Company.
Ford raised $28,000, or $700,000 in today's money. Enough to build his first factory in Highland Park, Michigan. Before long, he was producing 15 cars a day, priced low enough to be affordable for a great number of Americans.
When it finally does break through, it is sort of gratifying, because you're starting to see the reality of what you always believed, that the vision you had that someday the world would be different is starting to move in that direction.
Henry Ford's early success put him on the map. And Allen had noticed. They hit him with a lawsuit, claiming he was breaching their patent on the automobile.
You see all these huge conglomerations suing people over patents. The big guys are taking advantage of the little guys, trying to find whatever angle they could and using their might, and those with the best tricksters win.
While Henry Ford prepared to bring his fight for the little man to a Detroit court, the trial to bring down Standard Oil was starting to get ugly.
Mr. Rockefeller, we have evidence that you placed several refineries out of business.
Not to my knowledge.
Do you accept that Standard Oil has enjoyed a profitability higher than most industries?
Our profitability is no higher than that of U.S. Steel. I haven't heard of anyone attempting to break up U.S. Steel.
While Rockefeller was fighting to save his company, J.P. Morgan had been able to keep his steel monopoly off the government's hit list. He'd used his power and influence to broker a number of deals for the nation, applying the might of U.S. Steel to strengthen the country's infrastructure. But Morgan's biggest deal was just beginning in Central America. For years, attempts had been made to build a canal linking the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Such a canal would halve the time needed to travel from east to west, saving ships over 8,000 miles per trip. But no one had had the power to make it happen. Until now. J.P. Morgan acted as the middleman for the government and raised $40 million, or $7 billion today, to get the project started. The Panama Canal is the most ambitious construction project the United States has ever undertaken. Over 75,000 workers labored in brutal heat, fighting off deadly diseases, digging a canal 51 miles from the Atlantic to the Pacific.
To assemble the manpower, the material, and the finances to cut a swath through the middle of Panama and join the Atlantic Ocean with the Pacific Ocean. Only an industrially sophisticated nation could do that.
The Panama Canal embodied everything that made America the most powerful country in the world. Built on steel, powered by electricity, and running on petrol. And it was all made possible due to the financial might of one of the country's most powerful men. But the age of the monopoly was still on trial. And the unchallenged power the Titans had used to amass their empires was not going to last forever.